We are all breathing a sigh of relief now that the 49ers have their victory over the Dallas Cowboys and they head off into the bye at 4-4. But how did they do it? And how much of what they did will continue once they pick up play again against the Buccaneers? We'll break it all down on the Under Review podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to Under Review on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Networks. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Vish Kumar. And Vish, for the first time in what feels like a long time, it is a happy recap on a Victory Monday.
Yeah, a very happy one. Great win yesterday. Much needed win. The kind of win that can get your season set course on the right direction right before the bye. Very important one when you look at the division standings, conference standings, as well. Dallas was right there in the thick of things with the 49ers. We know that they've had conference and division losses prior to this game, so it's important to have one of these conference wins under your belt. They got it. Good signs all across the board. And I will say, Rob, one thing. I think a lot of shows, especially today, they take the theme of, hey, the last 2 weeks we've been talking about 9-10 different things the 49ers need to improve on. And they didn't really completely improve on them yesterday. So even though it's a win, it's like, are they still that good? And here's what I got to say to that. When you decide to make a change, that change doesn't enact immediately. There's a process of getting that change to happen that starts with baby incremental steps. And the 49ers, especially in that second half, took the first steps in the right direction of enacting all the change that we have talked about. The next step will be carrying this momentum from the bye. But here we are, Rob. Victory Monday, finally back.
It feels good. Food tastes better. The sun shines brighter. I was all about it today on a Monday. Got my Victory Monday homage shirt on too. If you're watching the stream, you can see that. Always good to bust that out of the closet. And yes, I actually had time to wash it between victories.
Oh, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, your hygiene is something that your viewership is questioning completely. I don't know that you have the best reputation when it comes to your hygiene. That's just what the chat's been saying, and I'll
Just because
just
I
be
wear
going
shoes
off
in the
of that.
house.
Weird shoes in the house. All I think about when I think of you now these days is, have you seen Osmosis Jones?
Oh, a while ago, yeah.
You know how they're in the city of Frank, and Frank's kind of the, I don't want to say nasty guy. I'm not comparing you to Frank either. But now I'm just imagining what the Osmosis Jones situation is like in Rob Guerrera's body. Like, oh, here we go. Stepped in dog crap again. About to get those germs all around the house. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
I don't step in dog crap ever, actually, believe it or not. It's really not that
You wouldn't
difficult.
know.
I never leave the house, and I don't have a dog. It's pretty simple. All right, we don't have
Seems
our
legit.
normal.
Seems legit.
We are pressed for time today, so we are going to speed through the game at a much faster pace than we usually do. Let's start defensively first, since the Cowboys got the ball first. I thought the 49ers defense for most of this game, until the fourth quarter, I thought the 49ers defense was excellent. They didn't let Dallas run the ball too much. They have a bead on Dak Prescott, Vish. They own Dak Prescott.
They have a beat on this offense, and they have a beat. Yeah, they own him completely. They rattle him. I thought the 49ers actually didn't rush the passer, especially early on, as effectively as I thought they could in this game. I think there were points where they did, but especially between Samo and Bosa. But it didn't really matter because Dak seemingly felt pressure and felt uncomfortable. It was almost the Geno situation all over again with the 49ers, where Bosa got to Geno early, and it didn't matter whether they were getting around Geno for the rest of the game. They were affecting Geno regardless. And that was the same thing that happened with Dak. It was almost like Dak has a lot of ghosts and a lot of issues with this defense. Bosa got to him early and hit him hard a couple of times early. And once that happened, it felt like even when they weren't getting around Dak, they were affecting him. And I will say, the Cowboys receivers aren't that good. They don't have many weapons to write home about outside of CeeDee Lamb. And the 49ers made sure that that was the case yesterday. They didn't let any of Jalen Tolbert or Ezekiel Elliott or Dalvin Cook play awfully a lot better than they should. Their secondary clamped up. They played a lot of man coverage. They took their chances, and Dak was not ready to throw into tight windows yesterday.
He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world except Levi Stadium. He just did not look like he wanted to play in the game. So the 49ers force a punt. They get the ball back, and they're facing 3rd and 6. And this was, one of the throws from Brock Purdy that sort of became a topic of conversation last week because it was another deep ball that was slightly underthrown. This one comes to Deebo Samuel. They start Deebo in the backfield on 3rd and 6. And he runs out, and it's him one-on-one on a linebacker, and he blows right by the linebacker. Now, fortunately, he was able to adjust and make the catch and pick up yards after the catch. Just an incredible, gutsy performance by Deebo, just days after being hospitalized for pneumonia. Good throw by Brock, but not the pinpoint accuracy that I've grown accustomed to seeing from him for the second straight week.
Yeah, 100%. He underthrew this and left this ball inside. The catch is actually a lot more impressive than I thought it was given credit for on the live broadcast or even in terms of the fans while talking. Deebo, while running full speed, almost reaches over the top of the linebacker and snatches it down and secures the ball without ever putting the ball in a place of harm for the linebacker. He's got really good hands actually at the catch point. I think it's a very underrated Deebo thing. His hand-eye coordination and his ability to keep the ball away from defenders while still catching it is extremely impressive. And this was a great catch. Is the echo back, Rob?
I never hear the echo, so you got to tell me.
Oh, no, it's not back. I heard something for a second and I saw something on your face. I agree it was a slightly inaccurate pass. And the one point I would make, I guess, and I know that it's going to be a sore subject to bring up for all of us as Niners fans, is these are the little things, I guess, that would separate Brock from Jimmy for us as a fan base. It was okay, take an open receiver schemed up by Shanahan. When Jimmy throws it, it's a 40-yard completion because he underthrows it. When Brock throws it, it's an 80-yard touchdown because he's right on the money. And some of those inaccuracies were all over the place last week versus the Chiefs, which was the worst game of his career. We've documented that. And it carried over a little bit into the early parts of this game. And this was an example of that, where the 49ers had an opportunity, frankly, Deebo should have scored a touchdown on this play. They get the exact matchup they want. You get a linebacker on a receiver. He runs right by him. And yeah, you hit him in stride. It's a walk-in touchdown.
Now, the 49ers continued down the field, but what happened next is something that happened on 3 of their first 4 drives, and it was crippling for them in the first half, and it was holding penalties. Holding penalties crushed drives that they were on. 2nd and 6, they get a 5-yard run from Jordan Mason. They're all set up for 3rd and short. Nope, holding on juice. All of a sudden, it's 2nd and 16 at the Dallas 42-yard line, and you end up having to settle for an Anders Carlson 50-yard field goal, which, shout out to Anders Carlson and the special teams in general, Vish. For once, the 49ers outplayed their opponent on special teams, and that was impressive because Dallas had the #1 special teams unit in the league coming in.
Yeah, they had the #1 special teams unit, and then John Fossil has gotten the 49ers with a few fake punts over the years when he was with the Rams. And Shanahan emphasized this point. I thought Greg Papa asked a couple of really nice questions about the special teams on special teams matchup directly to Shanahan in their one-on-one NBC Bay Area presser. And Shanahan was like, yeah, we got our work cut out for us. We have to play better on special teams. He owned it. He internalized it, and clearly the team responded. Anders Carlson played, 5 out of 5 with 2 50-plus yard kicks. You couldn't expect a better performance than from Jake Moody. And the one thing I'll mention on the 3rd down play as well, and this is just the side plot.
How could I skip
plot? Right. The side plot to the entire game. And I actually have a different take on the side plot than the conventional take, right? The conventional one is Brock audibled. He can, so everybody could hear. And they ran kind of that trap play to Jordan Mason on 3rd down. Now, my take watching this live, and this is just me watching it live, going to bed, watching a little bit of film, then going to work, and then coming and doing this show. So there's not been a lot of thought invested. But the 49ers have ran these sort of trap plays when they're expecting a certain tendency from a defensive coordinator. The most famous example I can think of is the first touchdown Raheem Mostert scored in the 2019 NFC Championship game. They
Yes.
expected a blitz from Mike Pettin, and they ran right into the blitz. And they scored a big play with Raheem Mostert, right? Big touchdown. I'm coming to this point to say I thought Shanahan, two things was interesting. One, how visible and audible the can was from Brock in moments in this game. Two, Shanahan brought it up saying, oh, that's our way of quote unquote audibling after the game. It wasn't necessarily a question that directly referred to it, but he almost made a point of saying it. And then three, Shanahan doing the thing he did with Grant after the game, which was hugging Brock and then being like, Grant, do you see this? Look, I know that there's much more to this than this small story, and we're not going to spend too much time on it. But I'm building all of this up to say I think that can was Shanahan was pissed that somebody said that his offense doesn't have audibles, because clearly there are ways for the play to be changed, and canning it is one example of it. And he wanted to make a point that that narrative got ended publicly. I think that third down call, I think that was it wasn't a come up to the line of scrimmage and can it. I think they were going to can to that. Like, I think it was called in the huddle, can, and it was about making a statement to everybody. Like, you guys don't know football. You don't know a damn thing about my offense. You don't know a damn thing when it comes to audibles. I thought it was a little bit of a statement like that. I thought the way they put the camera on him and he canned 2 or 3 times in the first half for all of us to get on Twitter and say it, that's how I felt, Rob.
Oh, okay. So you're saying all the cans in the game, not just that specific call.
I think it exists in their offense, but I think it was brought out in that game, especially on a third down and stuff like that early, as a point to say, like, hey, it does exist in the offense. And I think that run, I don't think he can to that run on 3rd and 10, if that makes sense. I think they were going to call that run. Like, first third down, we're expecting this blitz from Zimmer. We might be able to hit him with a big one, the way they got Pettin in the NFC Championship game. Because to me, I'm sorry, like, Brock Purdy might be the nicest guy in the world. I cannot see a quarterback on 3rd and 10 being like, hey, guys, can. Let's run it up the middle now. I doubt it.
Well, he did. They didn't get it. They settled for the field goal. They took the lead. Next possession, I thought, was a great example of the Niners defense working together. Dak Prescott drops back. Nick Bosa comes in like a house of fire, hits Dak as he's throwing the ball, which floats up. And Jair Brown completes the Jaquiski Tart catch, intercepts the pass, and the Niners take over. And right away, you're like, all right, here we go. Chance to control the game. We're going to take it over right now. We're going to run them out of the building.
Yeah, great play by Nick Bosa. This is the example of rattling Dak early, because Kevontae Turpin, I don't know who the corner is on the play. I think it's Renardo Green. He runs by Renardo Green on the play. Now, maybe he doesn't catch the football, because we saw later in the game that Kevontae Turpin does have trouble bringing the ball in over his shoulder, but he runs by him. And honestly, if Dak steps into this, I think it's a touchdown. If I'm being honest, I think Nick Bosa.
Maybe. We'll have to see. Does he recover?
Jair Brown gets an early start on getting over there, but I feel like the angle he takes and all of it becomes much easier. It's not as much a bang-bang play, because the ball just floats and he's able to see it all the way through to the sideline. You see in his movements, he's almost tracking the ball to the sideline because he knows that it's underthrown.
Bosa just would not be
cracks
stopped.
Him. He cracks him.
Dallas
he played unbelievable. It's so far inside too. He played unbelievable yesterday. Debo and Fred Warner early in this game, I thought made a statement for everybody. I think most likely their teammates, but yeah.
They were fired up. Unfortunately, the Niners offense couldn't get anything going on the next drive, so they have to punt after just 5 plays and 26 yards. And then Dallas gets the ball back, and they go on until the fourth quarter, their most successful drive of the day. 11 plays, 65 yards. They are converting third downs. They're recovering fumbles. They're overcoming sacks. No matter what the problem was,
they're breaking tackles.
Yes. Oh, my God. They were breaking tackles on that drive. And then they eventually get down to the 1-yard line after a Mooney Ward pass interference in the end zone. which I didn't think was that bad, but whatever. And they run it in with Zeke.
Yeah, that I think they called so many ones like that they let go that are so much more obvious than that one, and that one was bang bang. And yeah, okay, whatever.
So
Fine.
Dallas scores, and you're like, all right, well, that was a missed opportunity. It's 7-3. Niners get the ball back. They are driving down the field. Well, first, excuse me, I forgot. They throw a 66-yard touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel, but Eric Saubert decided to absolutely maul his defender, and so the play gets nullified. Deebo was wide open and untouched on the play.
Yeah, and he shook his head after, like, what are you shaking your head about? Like,
Right.
he mauled the guy. That
3
was one of
times
the
he
most
mauled.
obvious holding penalties I've ever seen. It was, yeah, he mauled the guy, but I'd rather take him mauling the guy over him, not mauling the guy, and then the quarterback gets hit while he's trying to throw because the backup tight end is blocking a defensive lineman. We don't need that instance anymore, do we now, Rob Guerrero?
No, I don't think we need to see that. If you're watching on the stream, you could see it. I mean, we don't really see Deebo get open deep too often, although this was the second time in the game that it happened. He just kind of floats out there. And it was a total scheme open by Kyle Shanahan. He makes one move on the defender and right down the sideline for a 66-yard touchdown. And that would have given them so much juice, right? Because it would have been Deebo, who always gives them juice. It would have been a huge response on the first play after Dallas scored. It would have been a bleep you by the Niners. And unfortunately, it didn't count. Yeah, Saubert killed.
And look, we don't have as much time to go through this game in as much detail as we do the other ones, so that's why we're kind of going through these drives a little bit more quick, but I think that this play kind of emphasizes the overall theme of the first half for the 49ers, which was that they should have been honestly rolling through Dallas. The way they rolled through them in the third quarter, they had the opportunity to do that in every single quarter in this game. They were definitely better than Dallas. I think Dallas came out aggressive, and I think that it's shocked the 49ers early how physical Dallas was. It was more physical than Dallas has ever been in this matchup, but they were good with that in the second half. They then started emphasizing their physicality to Dallas, and once they started doing that, Dallas couldn't bring it on. But I would say that this touchdown is just the prime example of what was going on in the 49ers in the first half, which was they kept missing opportunities and they kept allowing Dallas to stay attached when they were honestly the better team. And why was that first half frustrating? Probably for you, for me, for everybody watching, because it felt like we were watching the Rams game, the Arizona game, where the 49ers were letting a team they were much better than, they were clearly better than, they were clearly outplaying, they were clearly capable of beating, stay in a game.
And now we get to me, the biggest indicator in the first half that for whatever reason, something was just off with Brock Purdy. He was not sharp. He was not crisp. His ball placement was just not what it usually is because it's 4th and 3 and the 49ers are going for it. And God bless you, Kyle Shanahan. Bless your soul. He goes for it.
If we're gonna hit the 4th and 3, let's at least hit the 3rd and 7 too. Then on that drive, because that was probably his first, I would say, oh, that looked like Brock Purdy play right before the 4th and 3 happens. The 7-yard throw to Ricky Pearsall against the blitz. He's hot. He gets hit. He throws it way early to a guy that he hasn't practiced that much with. It was a great play. 7 yards only, 8 yards maybe, but great play on 3rd and 7.
I was ended up being a 13-yard play.
Or 13 yards, sorry. But 3rd and 7. Yeah.
Well, all right, now you're going to make me dial it up. So here we go.
We got to be nice, Rob. Our kindness, we have to show that our kindness comes, or our criticism comes from a place of kindness.
Right. Here's Pearsall's at the top of the screen if you're watching on the stream. He's got a huge cushion, and Brock is throwing the ball. I just paused it. He's throwing the ball. Pearsall hasn't even begun to reach the top of the route, to stem the route. He hasn't even begun, and Brock's already throwing it.
And this is a nice answer versus pressure. He's throwing right into the blitz. The corner's blitzing off the edge, straight into the blitz, and it's low and away to the outside. The defensive back is not going to turn and locate that ball. Probably, this looks like Brock Purdy. This does not look like Jimmy Garoppolo.
And the thing I liked about this, too, is in last week's game, there was a play to Pearsall where Brock's got to throw relatively hot, and Pearsall's open, and Brock puts it in a perfect spot, but Ricky didn't get his head around fast enough to make the play. On that play that we just showed, he did. And it's just like those little things make the difference between an incompletion and a completion, and that kept the chains moving, at least for a little while on the drive. Go ahead.
100%. And you pointed out the anticipation, right, of when he's starting to throw before Pearsall makes out his break. The thing about that throw, also with it being blind, is that they have to be on the same page on when he's going to break, right? Like that exact same yard point. They have to have the same landmark that they are both aiming for.
Yep.
And that's why reps are so important in training camp and in practice. And unfortunately, in Ricky Pearsall's case, those reps have not been there. He's been hurt. He got shot. He's been dealing with a lot. Well, now he's back. And to see that on his second week playing with Brock Purdy is a very, very promising sign. So this is more of, I would say, a long-term macro look. Like, this is a great thing moving forward. This is something to look at. This is something that's awesome to highlight. But now let's go to the 4th and 3, which I know you were really licking your lips on.
I loved it. Like, yes, thank you, God. Let's go to 4th down. And Kyle dials up the perfect play. It's a simple play. He anticipates that the Cowboys are going to bring pressure up the middle, and they do. And it's just Debo over the middle of the field. There's one guy there. Brock sees Debo. Debo has the position. There's nobody in Brock Purdy's face. If you're watching on the stream, you could see there's nobody within 3 yards of Brock Purdy. And he completely biffs it, Vish. He throws it a yard behind Debo Samuel. He can't complete it. And the 49ers turn the ball over on downs.
And the funny thing is, this is a zero blitz with you're talking players here. You put that ball on Debo Samuel, there's a chance he scores on this play.
Yes. And beyond that, it was 7-3. You've outplayed the Cowboys, but they have the lead. You have a chance to take it right back. And instead of a potential touchdown or at least a huge gain, you're giving the ball back to them at midfield. And it's because Brock cannot execute a simple throw. Like, that's a remedial throw over the middle of the field. I know people are saying, well, Debo should have caught it, hit him in the hands. Give me a break. He's running full speed in one direction. He's got to reach all the way behind him and catch the ball. That's on Brock way more than it's on Debo to me. And they turned it over on downs.
Yeah, I agree. I think you covered that really, really well. I would say, yeah, the one last thing for me was that I thought, like, the one thing that was missed with that play was I think he could have scored. If he throws it to him on time and on schedule and puts it on him, this is Debo Samuel, one guy to beat, one-on-one in the open field. It's a zero blitz. Everybody else is locked up on their man. Nobody's looking at Debo. He's going to score.
Exactly, because there's only one other guy, but he's not even looking at the play. He's looking at his man.
It's similar to the touchdown George Kittle scored versus the Rams in 2020 versus a zero blitz.
C says, come on now, not every throw is going to be perfect. Sometimes it just is not a good throw. And yes, this is one of those throws. Exactly. But there's nothing wrong with pointing it out. There's a subset of 49er fans out there that want you to take Brock Purdy out for an ice cream cone every time you point out he didn't make a good play. Like, when he's good, we'll say he's good. And when he's bad, we'll say he's bad. Trust me, we'll get to the good in this game.
Our criticism comes from a place of kindness. That's why we made sure to emphasize the good, even though Rob was upset that we spent time on Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall in 3rd and 7.
I wasn't upset. I just wasn't
expecting. I know. I'm just kidding.
So again, they turn it over on downs. Dallas goes 8 plays down the field and kick a field goal. And all of a sudden they have a 7-point lead. And it's like, there are sequences in a game that determine the outcome. And that was the first sequence for me. Niners turn it over. Cowboys get it back. They kick the field goal. It's 10-3. And all of a sudden now you're like, well, we got to do something offensively in this half. We're going to get run out of our own field here. And luckily for everybody, the 49ers did. They went back to the ground game. Guerendo, 19 yards. Guerendo, 15 yards. 2-minute warning. Guerendo, 19 yards, except holding penalty. Just when you thought the Niners were going to run it down their throats again, they get another crushing holding penalty, and it's 1st and 20 at the 41-yard line. And what that does is it takes the run out of play, or at least it did for Kyle in that sequence, and the drive ultimately stalled, and you end up having to kick a field goal.
Right. And this was an opportunity to kind of take the clock to the end of the half, be
Right.
able to do the double dip Kyle Shanahan likes to do. Like there were a lot of layers to this drive on how good things could have gone. Now, I have one like contradictory point to the general consensus on what happened in this portion of the game. I feel like a lot of people look at Guerendo and they say he brought a spark to the 49ers. He kind of changed the game. He was what changed the game. And I watched the game like anybody. I'm not going to deny that there wasn't an element of when Guerendo was brought into the game changed, right? He played very well yesterday. But to me, he was capitalizing on things that were there already in these first few drives. Like the 49ers came in, and this is the point I want to emphasize, and it sucks because I don't want to take away credit from Guerendo to emphasize this point, but I kind of am because he played well, but the 49ers were like built and schemed up and geared up to shellac Dallas. There's a reason they put 460 yards of offense on Dallas. Like they were built to shellac Dallas in this game. And Guerendo was like the first example of fully taking advantage of that in this game. And I feel like I guess where I'm kind of contradicting the consensus point is a lot of people look at Guerendo and say he was the turning point in the game because of him. I was like, he was the first example of what should have been happening in this game. And I think there is a distinction to that. And that distinction is, I guess, well, if we're going to get on Kyle Shanahan on certain weeks, well, you got to come into a game like this where his team is absolutely ready to steamroll the Dallas Cowboys on both sides of the ball, scheme wise, and all of that. Like, and look at it and say, yeah, that was a hell of a coaching performance. That was a game where they won the game before they walked onto the field.
Except we've seen sometimes the 49ers lose the game when they actually get on the field. That's
Also
what
true.
we were all worried
That's
about
also
in this
true.
one. They get the field goal. Dallas does nothing, 3 plays. They punt. Niners get the ball back. And first of all, I'll just say this was the first time the refs screwed something up. There should have been fair catch interference. Jacob Cowling was hit by a Cowboys player. They didn't
Oh,
call
yeah,
it.
this was a big screw up. Big screw up.
And it ends up being a big screw up because when Brock Purdy fumbles later in the drive without being hit for the second time this year, the Niners are out of field goal range. But if they had that extra 15 yards that they should have gotten, they probably are able to attempt a field goal at the end of the half. As it was, they don't get one, and we go to halftime 10-6. And I'm like, what world am I living
Yeah.
in where the Dallas Cowboys are beating the
And
49ers?
and that one was a little bit disastrous, that drive. The last two drives, real quick, on the 3rd and 3, this was the first example of Samo getting pressure. The reason I want to highlight Samo is one of the things you and I talked about is the lack of depth, the lack of talent on this defensive line. In years past, when they've bounced back, there's been more depth in this defensive line. There's been the Charles Omenihu's, there's been the Arden Keys, there's been the Samson Ebukams, there's been all of these different types of players that we look at as definite guys that can contribute. Samo lining up inside and outside was an example of, hey, maybe the 49ers have a little bit of something next to Nick Bosa. He affected this play. He got to Dak Prescott. There's one. And then Brock Purdy, like, he had kind of an up and down first half, but this last drive is just all down, Rob, right before they get into the half. First, right, you highlighted it. The refs absolutely screwed it up. I don't know what honestly forced the flag to not come out. I thought it was very obvious. There were a few that were cut and dry to me, like with ball spotting and stuff, that it's like, okay, I'm watching on TV. Maybe my eye didn't see it so quick on the screen, whatever, it changed. But this one, I thought live, like on TV, like everybody was catching what happened. Like he ran into Jacob Cowling and Jacob Cowling looked like he got decked. That's just how it looked. There wasn't any other way it could have looked. I didn't understand it. But then between the fumble, Rob, where he just kind of drops the ball just falls out of his hands. And then he has Conley in a pretty big window on that 3rd and 16 wide open. And maybe Brandon Ayuk makes that very difficult catch going to the ground, but he kind of skips it to him, one hops it to him. Like
Yeah,
that was a throw you got to make. And so this was kind of just a rough sequence for Brock Purdy. And for the 49ers on the whole, it was just another opportunity for them to double dip before the half. Okay, you screwed up the clock management. You only got a field goal, but Dallas screwed it up right back. They give you the ball right back. You're aggressive with 55 seconds. You do move the ball, and this was a really good opportunity for them to double dip and kind of put the game away. They end up doing it in the 3rd quarter, but for sure, this was a drive that could have made that a lot easier.
At halftime, Brock was 10 of 16 for 151, no touchdowns, no pick, had the fumble, also had a sack, had one scramble for 13 yards in the game, which was hilarious, by the way, because they used the expedited review to determine that Brock Purdy stayed in bounds instead of getting out of bounds as it was originally called, which I have no problem with. But they can't use the review to see if Jacob Cowing got hit on the fair catch. I hate the whole replay. Everything should be reviewable. Every non-judgment call should be reviewable, period.
And I will say, for the most part, when they are getting a lot of these tight man coverage looks and all of that, and I don't know if it's separation, I don't know if it's a lack of trust in these receivers. It could be a variety of so many different things. I think so many people try to hone the answer to specifically one. It could be all of them. But Brock Purdy's legs, when he's able to just be like, okay, I don't see it, I'm just going to run, or it's not available, I'm just going to run. To me, that's when he looks the most decisive, Rob. Like, that's when, to me, he looks like, okay, I can get it going. I can get some momentum. And teams are starting to spy him. Teams are starting to have specific rush plans to guide him to certain parts of the pocket, to force him to certain areas because they feel like he can't make as many throws if he's stuck on this side of the field. There's starting to be a little bit more nuances in how teams are game planning for the specific strengths and weaknesses of Brock Purdy. And I think that's been an adjustment he's been going through the last 2 weeks. Is his legs are such a big part of who he is, that escapability, the ability to get out of the pocket, the ability to run. It keeps himself and the game almost on time and on schedule if the offense isn't exactly doing that. And I thought that one of the things I think that will help him get on track is finding out how he can use his legs, and that'll be seeing how teams are starting to change these game plans, where now you're starting to stunt a certain way, so you move him left specifically, or now you're trying to blitz him where you have a spy right in front of him where you can't run away from pressure and stuff like that. It's a little more creative nuances, I think, with attacking him, and it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts.
Collinsworth pointed it out last night multiple times. Like, hey, they tried to spy Brock and he still got away. Like, it is a weapon. And he told us after last year he wanted to work on his mobility, and he absolutely did it. He's much more decisive now when he decides to take off and run. He's making that decision quicker. I think it's helping him, and it helped him in this game. So
he knows he can make plays, right? Like, that's
yeah.
the thing that makes the decisiveness. Like, he's at an all-time confidence where he flat out thinks if it's him and a defender one-on-one to get the first down, he's going to freaking get it. That defender has no shot. He's going to shake him out of his boots and go get it. Yeah.
He does. Like, that's the crazy thing, is like most of the time he does, to his credit. Let's get to the good stuff, okay? Because people think we're mean to Brock. We're not mean.
You are, not me.
We're tough but fair. That's what I like to think. Niners
Our
get
criticism is from a place of kindness.
No, I think your original quote was, our negativity comes from a place of positivity.
Oh, well, it's all the same. We can be in that realm, can't we?
Sure.
Okay.
First and 10, Guerendo stuffed. Second and 10, Brock Purdy scrambles for 9 yards, and Kyle doesn't take the too many men on the field penalty. He leaves it at 3rd and 1, which 3rd and short for this team scares me, because if it's not
I thought I was scared about it. I was like ready to blow a gasket. They're not going to get the 3rd and 1. They're going to punt it, and I'm going to freak out.
If it's not a sneak, third and short, 2nd and short has been dicey for this team. But Brock sneaks it. They get the first down. And then he goes to Kittle. And George freaking Kittle in this game was unbelievable. And for the record, this is the best quarter of football the 49ers have played all year long. And a huge part of it was George Kittle catching the ball from Brock Purdy, short pass. He takes off 43 yards down the field like a friggin' runaway rhinoceros, dragging people. It's unbelievable. He gets down to the 4-yard line, and they didn't screw around, Vish. One play, Guerendo, right up the middle, touchdown. It was a bleep you statement drive from the 49ers coming out of halftime.
And it was almost like they needed to see one thing go right. Like, they were so close. They were so close to breaking the waterfall, but they were constantly shooting themselves in the foot. And they just needed one moment where they weren't thinking and they didn't shoot themselves in the foot, and everybody could see it happen. And that would make all the momentum go their way. And that's kind of what happened. And dude, George Kittle is just so freaking good. He's just so good. And you and I think, have been on the big train of like, hey, Kittle's still the best weapon left on this offense, especially since CMC has gone out. Like, we have been riding that. We've been waving it. We've been saying it. And games like this just emphasize that point of sometimes, hey, maybe he's more injured than we expect, and that's why he's not a bigger part of the game plan, and that's why he's not getting the ball enough. But he is still the most dominant guy. He's better than Debo. He's better than Brandon Ayuk when he's healthy. Unfortunately, the 49ers are going to miss him. That's a huge player to miss. He's just better than those guys. He's just a freaking stud, man.
And congratulations to George Kittle, the 5th 49er ever with 500 catches and 3rd all-time in franchise history in receiving yards. And when the franchise history is the 2 greatest wide receivers of all time, and then that's pretty good because it's Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, and George Kittle in 49ers history for receiving yards, and they never even throw to him, Vish.
And you have this unique also distinction of holding a team record and holding a team standard of something like that, like 500 catches, but doing it while also being part of bringing through and ensuring a almost mini run of 49ers football that's been different. Like this has been ushered by George Kittle's leadership, by George Kittle's sacrifice. Like those things, like the unselfish nature of the 49ers weapon starts from George Kittle was the first team All-Pro on this offense, and he sacrificed for Deebo Samuel to be the man of the offense and become the first team All-Pro. So now when Deebo sacrifices, it's not like Deebo can say anything because George already sacrificed for Deebo to be the man of the offense and all of that. Just total stud. I think those are the little things that maybe don't get enough credit because he's a really shrewd, smart guy, in my opinion, who hides it behind a caricature. And I think the media sells the caricature instead of selling the shrewd, smart guy because that's the guy that's right in front of them. And it's easy to do the, hey, George, tight end university thing. I think that's whatever. Like, I don't know. But yeah. Rob, sir, there's certain elements of like people enjoying just flat out unintelligence that bothers me. And I think there's a level of like strategic nuance to a guy like Kittle. And I would appreciate that being given more, what should I say? Can you imagine the stats if he was just the number one option of the 49ers offense the way he was in 2018 every year since then?
I have said it 1,000 times with George Kittle. Blocking is the second best thing that he does. Let him catch the ball. He is a force for this team. And it was Kittle and the kids on Sunday. That's essentially what won the 49ers the game. It was Kittle, it was Guerendo, it was Renardo Green, it was Ricky Pearsall, it was Kittle and the kids.
Bosa.
Oh yeah, Bosa too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this was also the first moment, Rob, where we talked about how Jake Ferguson was breaking tackles and CeeDee Lamb was breaking tackles and Cavonte Turpin was breaking tackles. The 49ers weren't really breaking tackles after the catch. Mason wasn't really giving them that explosiveness early on. And they didn't really get Debo into one of those situations. He dropped the screen that could have been a touchdown that would have been that kind of play for them. So there were like moments, missed opportunities with that. And I felt like Kittle finally got this team into gear. Like he got them feeling like this is 49ers football. He brought that physicality to the game that was missing from the 49ers because they were almost, I would say they were hitting about even with Dallas, maybe getting out hit at moments to this point in the game. And that's not normal when we're talking about this matchup because the 49ers dominate this matchup physically. That's the underlying thing to it. That's why they own Dallas. That's why they own Dak Prescott. It's a physical beating they put on this team. And they weren't doing it until George Kittle decided to do that.
So how do the Cowboys respond? They get the ball back at their 11-yard line because they tried to do a reverse on the kickoff return and ended up doing an illegal forward pass, and the reverse was covered by the 49ers, to their credit. And Dak gets into
that was pretty funny, was that not?
It was. I hated the view that they used too, because like I can't see where the returner is on the field because they were using the sky cam. It's like, is this a good return? I don't know. So that was annoying. But anyway, Cowboys get the ball back. It's 3rd down. They need a play deep in their own territory. And unfortunately for the Cowboys, it was made by Deommodore Lenoir, who continues to ball out, Fish. The fact that he made this play, fading back as Dak is rolling out, catching the ball, and staying in bounds, Lenoir is earning himself so much money this season, whether it comes from the 49ers or somebody else.
Yeah. And the 49ers started finding something out in this game. It's, if he's on a big down, he's probably throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. So let's just go stand in front of CeeDee Lamb and the ball's going to drop to us. it's just another one where I feel like for a veteran quarterback, I don't want to harp on Dak because we are a 49ers show, and that is a great play by Lenore. He's having an outstanding year. He tackles great. He plays inside. He plays outside. He deserves all the flowers. But, dude, I think Dak's a good quarterback. He freaking sucked yesterday. He freaking sucked.
I'm here for it, man. So, again, another situation, right? Cowboys turn the ball over. 49ers have a chance to take control of the game. They didn't do it earlier. They get the ball. They start at the Dallas 32-yard line, and I love that Kyle went, bam, right back to the run. Right, press where it hurts, Kyle Shanahan, right? And Guerendo picks up 12 yards right off the bat, and they're immediately in the red zone. And then Kyle goes back-to-back screens to Deebo Samuel. How about that? I felt like we haven't seen a screen pass from this team in like 3 weeks, and he went back-to-back screens to Deebo after the first down run.
And I loved that too, because it was like, okay, we struggle in the red zone. Who's my best player at being able to get the ball outside of the end zone and getting us into the end zone? We can't get the ball into the end zone. We can't throw into the end zone. Those things are difficult for us. Let me try to get the ball to Deebo. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to break one, but he got them pretty freaking close for George Kittle to finish it off.
After Brock Purdy gets a first down on third down.
Oh, right, on the scramble. Right.
3rd and 3, Brock scrambles. And then this was the weirdest set of play calling after the Brock scramble. He goes Deebo Samuel off the end for 4 yards. Then he goes a handoff to freaking Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
Nothing, because it's Kyle Juszczyk, and he stinks. He stinks. Kyle.
That one seems personal. The third one seems.
Hear it. 3rd and goal.
He took a pay cut this offseason.
Yeah, he should have got a pay cut to 0, okay? He stinks. He's barely on the field, and when he's on the field, he's missing blocks. He's dropping passes deep down the field. He's not good anymore. Coach's buddy. He's taking away targets from somebody else. We can't score in the red zone.
JTO has been on a single-handed agenda to ruin one of the most pristine reputations. Here the 49ers are, Harvard fullback. The guy makes the All-Pro every year. Don't tell anybody that the position gets an All-Pro, even though it probably shouldn't. The guy makes a Pro Bowl every year. He interviews people with a hairbrush in the locker room. His wife makes some of the best fashion in the NFL with NFL brand, and here we are, and Rob Guerrero is just not having it.
If you can't score in the red zone, why are you giving a touch to your fullback? Every touch for him takes a touch away from Deebo or Guerendo or Brock or Kittle. Like, no. I
think getting the ball to him is an element of misdirection, but they did it last week, right? They did that, or Seattle 2 weeks ago. Sorry. He got the ball to score. Either way, they scored, Rob. And yes. Anders Carlson made the point after. Shout out to him.
What did you think of the play that Kittle scores the touchdown on? When I saw it, I thought it was a complete pick play. I was like, I saw the flags, and as soon as I looked at the replay, I was like, oh, yeah. But not only did they not call the penalty, Terry McCauley, the rules guy, was like, no, that's a totally legal play.
It was legal. I thought his explanation was great. And honestly, Terry seemed so confident that I was like, yeah, I'm confident too, Terry. That's exactly what it is. I think that
he charges into both guys.
Yeah, but I don't think he slows his body down. Like, I think he runs through it as if he has complete intent to run his route. So it looks like a very natural collision.
You know what I did like about this play, though? It was easy. It felt like we hadn't seen a lot of easy plays in the red zone, and that was easy. And it was like, yes, that's what we've been missing. It was Brock just dropped back. He threw it right out to Kittle. He was wide ass open. And it was like, yeah, why can't we do this all the time? It was nice to see some of the easy plays come back.
Well, it's just one of those things. I feel like when things are going wrong in the red zone, it feels like, what can you do, right? Like, how can you help yourself? Like, for example, Dallas in the red zone twice. We'll talk about it maybe briefly a little bit later. The Niners busted 2 coverages on CeeDee Lamb. of all people, and he's butt naked, wide open twice in the end zone. Like, how does that happen? Like, sometimes you need a little bit of help, and it only happens from trying stuff like this in the red zone. Taking a risk if you're Chris Conley and running that route really hard, knowing that, hey, I might get hit, I might get a collision, but I'm going to take that chance because maybe it just springs something for Kittle. And our offense needs something to open up. And they had actually a tricky red zone trip after this. So this doesn't necessarily open up the waterworks for the 49ers in the red zone. I think it just stems from they're unable to consistently run the football inside the 10-yard line, and that doesn't let any of the rest of their offense go. Maybe quarterback sneaks is the way to go with that. I'm kind of joking, but I'm also kind of serious with the way that up the center quarterback sneak seems to work for the 49ers, how effective it is. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for you, Rob. I did think it was a pick play, but as soon as Terry gave me the okay, are you kidding? I'm taking what Terry said and telling everybody else. Obviously, it's not a pick play because he ran his route. Like, come on, have you watched the game? Have you seen football on a Sunday? Do you even know what a pick play is? Like, what?
I'll take it. I'll take the points, and that gave the Niners a 10-point lead. The Cowboys get the ball back, and it was like, it's the defense of 2019 again, man. They just shut them down. Dallas goes 3-and-out. Niners get the ball back, and you're like, okay, one more score probably breaks them. That was my thinking. When they got the ball back with a 10-point lead, I was like, we can get one more. It probably breaks the Cowboys. And the Niners get the ball back, and it was a classic Shanahan drive where basically they are going down the field, and they're not even getting to third down. Guerendo, Brock scrambles for 16. Here's that man 85 again for 27 yards as they rumble down the field. They are moving the ball down the field. Purdy hits Debo on a 3rd and 7 for 16 yards. They get all the way down to the 2-yard line, and Brock Purdy just says, bleep this, I'll do it myself, sneaks it into the end zone. Party time, 27-10 49ers. And it was like, here we go. We're going to drop 40 on these fools again.
Yeah, 100%. And another great 3-and-out from the 49ers defense. Another great example of their young secondary plastering these not so good Dallas receivers, but you play who's in front of you, and they plastered them in man coverage. A great stop, get the ball back to your offense. And that was like, we have momentum, let's ride this momentum kind of drive. And at this moment, Rob, it felt like we were cruising to the 49ers are back. This is a total statement. We're going to be talking about this game. They're going to take this momentum into the bye. Everything is going well. Yep. Dallas goes 3-and-out on the very next drive. It's very similar to the drive above. A great example, again, of the 49ers secondary just being all over these Dallas receivers. Dak has nowhere to go with the ball. Eventually, they're getting pressure. And then we get ourselves to the drive that, Rob, I know you are waiting to talk about. I know that was the drive that made a vein pop in your post game. I know that was the drive that made your kids wake up and they're like, Dad, is everything okay? Why are you shouting at the TV? And you're like, it's okay, guys. It's just Kyle Shanahan. Let's go there.
So I assume you're talking about the Niners drive. They get the ball 27-10. Guerendo starts the drive with a 9-yard run, and then it's 2nd and 1. They hand it to Guerendo again. He doesn't get it because, of course not. The 49ers can't run block in short yardage, and it's 3rd and 1. And I think Kyle ends up passing there, and I think the reason he does, Vish, is because Juice got hurt, and he went off the field for the play. And I think that Kyle was like, well, I can't run it now. So what they tried to do was run a bootleg to Ronnie Bell, a very simple play where Brock can either run it or throw it, but they put it in Brock's hands. And I have no problem with that fundamentally, philosophically. Brock rolls out, and I don't know if I should blame him for this, but Ronnie Bell decides he's just going to block for Dak. Like he's not looking at Dak. He turns his head. He thinks Dak's going to run. Oh, yeah, sorry, Brock. Yeah. He thinks Brock's going to run, and he just starts blocking. And Brock is like waiting for Ronnie Bell. And if you listen to the broadcast, Vish, you can hear Brock yell, Ronnie. Like he's trying to get him to turn around and look. And by the time he does, Brock throws it, which he never should have done. And he gets incredibly lucky that the Dallas defender drops the ball. Because if that's an interception, that lets Dallas right back in the game.
Yeah. This completely turns the game, and Trayvon Diggs just runs in on Brock Purdy and kind of takes away the running option from him. He's not beating Trayvon Diggs one-on-one in that situation. He knows that too, which is why he's trying to throw the ball. He tips it. It's almost an interception. This was a little bit of a disaster. I guess for me, the issue is, Rob, I feel like there's too much, and I don't want to harp on exactly this. This is a small mundane detail in this game, but there's too much of 1st and 10, 9 yards, and then 2nd and 1 just becomes such a difficult down for this football team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing I feel like, and this is just, I'm not even talking about how he's sequencing these plays together. I'm talking about situationally, only about 2nd and 1 specifically. To me, 2nd and 1 is always play action shot, right? Because you have a 3rd down to get that 1 yard, which should theoretically be easy. And I feel like the 49ers do a lot of running up the middle on 2nd and 1. And I have
Mm-hmm.
no statistic basis for this. And so this could be just a horrible take across the board by me. I'm prefacing it, but also putting myself out there, knowing that this could lead for backlash, and just saying that I don't feel like there is a lot of the 49ers taking that risk of 2nd and 1, play action. Let's take a shot. Let's be aggressive. And I feel like with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 17-point lead, this was an opportunity to continue that momentum, keep Dallas flipped off of that run pass. You were just coming off of a drive where you were going first, second down, first, second down, first, second down, and Dallas wasn't able to keep up with the run pass, all the weapons. It felt like the flow of the offense was killing them. I feel like that 2nd and 1 run is just a Kyle Shanahan conservatism example. That's really the grander point that I'm getting to. And
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I guess maybe the 3rd and 1 exacerbates it, but I feel like there's just moments where this offense just gives momentum away too easily. And they give momentum away by making errors themselves. And you're up 17 points in this game. Like, you don't need to do anything stupid to give up momentum. Like, why isn't there just like a consistency? Why can't you go to a play on 3rd and 1 that you feel like everybody's on top of their P's and Q's? I don't know whose job it is as a professional, but these are little execution things where it feels like when you're talking about just the game script and you're not focused on the X's and O's and you're just saying, how do two football teams beat each other strategically? We know momentum exists in sports. We know it's a real thing. Why are you giving opportunities to give it away at that moment? You're up 17 points against a team that's waiting to quit at
Right.
home. They're waiting to quit. They're trying to quit. They're asking to quit. Why are you giving them reasons not to quit?
And the one thing I liked after that 3rd down is Brock ripped into Ronnie Bell on the field. He screamed
Mhm.
at him, which is like, yes, I need more of that from Brock. I love that he's holding people accountable. And Vish, I know we're getting tight on time here. The Cowboys get the ball in their next 2 possessions. 14 plays, they go a combined 140 yards, and they score 2 touchdowns. The 49ers just forget how to cover CeeDee Lamb. Like, what happened?
I don't think it's a case of that. This is just what happens when you get a little bit softer, right? You've been playing aggressive tight man coverage and aggressive coverage against these Cowboys receivers all game. And this is like the classic defensive coordinator of, we've been playing aggressive and it's been working all game, but now it's us versus the clock versus them. So we're not going to be as aggressive. And now CeeDee Lamb gets away. I think you don't have an issue with them driving the ball between the 20s the way they did, right? Because they're taking up clock, going 10 yards at a time. It's the 2 end zone busted coverages. These are the 2 that can't happen. You can't let, out of all people, that guy be wide open in the end zone 2 different times butt naked. Like, that should never happen. Unfortunate.
I mean, the first one, he's so open. There's nobody within 20 yards of him. And that's not an exaggeration. He's open in the end zone by 20 yards.
And then the second one, 2 guys run into each other and he just reroutes and runs straight into the end zone. He's like, "Hey, Dak."
Yeah, that was Jair Brown, who Jair Brown played a really good game, but
Yeah,
this
Chris
was a
Collinsworth was loving him. He was flying around.
this was a bad one from Jair Brown. Renardo Green has CeeDee Lamb in the slot at the bottom of the screen, and Jair Brown is going to the flat to cover the tight end who's going to the flat, and he just basically, Brown ends up picking Renardo Green, and of course Dak is CD's wide open in the end zone as a result,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
Cowboys.
CD feels them run into each other and he just runs to the end zone. I don't think it's designed for him to run in the end zone. He just runs the end zone and puts his hand up because he's wide open and it's another free touchdown. it should never happen. Like, I think those are the mistakes. I don't really mind what happened between the 20s, if I'm being honest with you, Rob. 27-10, it's okay to take your foot off the gas and let them play against the clock. Let Dak accumulate 10 yards at a time with CeeDee Lamb, but
Why?
you cannot let him be wide freaking open in the end zone. That's where
I disagree with that philosophy. When you are a team that is gacked away 2 wins in the fourth quarter this year, you don't ever take your foot off the gas against anybody. This ain't Little League, man. This isn't Pop Warner. There's no mercy rule, right? Don't take your foot off the gas. Kyle Shanahan should have said, let's stomp them into the ground instead of it becoming a 1-score game in the fourth quarter where we're all butt clenched.
So I know what line of thinking you're talking about, and I think it makes sense, right? If something has worked for 45 minutes, why change it for the last 15 minutes? The way I view it is, what is the smartest thing a defensive coordinator can do in the last 15 minutes? And if I have a 17-point lead and the only thing that can hurt me is them scoring quickly, I do understand now taking my coverages and saying, hey, we're going to play the same coverages, but now don't take as many chances. Keep it in front of you. I don't mind that line of thinking as much. I don't look at it as being unaggressive. I look at it as playing the situation and being smart. What I have an issue with is now you do get into the red zone and you play your aggressive man coverage. Why is Jair Brown running out of control into the flat? And why are we letting the best player on the Dallas Cowboys, the only player on the Dallas Cowboys offense that was going to beat the 49ers, why are we letting him free run into the end zone twice that in the fourth quarter? That's alarming for me. So I get like what you mean in terms of putting your foot off the gas. Like, I don't think they did that bad of a job, honestly, personally, schematically. Like, I thought they got aggressive when they need to. But this is an experience builder for the 49ers players. A lot of the young ones, especially the young ones who haven't played a lot in the secondary, Brown, Mustafa, Green, they're learning how to close a game. And this is the first thing you learn about closing a game is the game is never over when the quarterback makes $60 million and the receiver makes $35 million. They have nothing else to do. They're going to keep competing. So you can't just give CeeDee Lamb free statistics.
When you take your foot off the gas and you allow these plays, you're supposed to have them chew up the clock. Well, they scored 2 touchdowns in 5 minutes. So you didn't stop them from scoring and you didn't make them chew up the clock. So you did the complete opposite of everything that you were trying to do for, to me, no reason. Cowboys score those.
He made a couple of I will say, just as a football fan, I know we're cut for time, Rob. He made a couple of insane catches at this point in the game. Like a couple of he just gets up and looks some routine, but they're like, whoa, he caught that ball. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, Iceman 0072 says, will the Bosa happy as distraction was unnecessary? I think if Bosa wanted it to be a distraction, he would have talked about it more in the postgame presser. He totally did not want to talk about it. Kyle Shanahan wasn't even asked about it in his conference call today because of course not. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, especially because they have the bye. So, and the election it probably won't be decided by the time the 49ers come back and play football, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be a thing.
I don't think it's going to be a thing either. I think they understand in the locker room that people are going to have political beliefs. People are going to have different political beliefs. I think the only thing that we ask, and it's been consistent, is that you just allow people to express them and leave them be. He got his opportunity to express his political beliefs. That's his right. But I don't think it's going to affect them doing their job because I think their bottom line comes way before the politics. Like, I think their bottom line is about winning football games and feeding their families together.
And if you were stunned by Nick Bosa supporting who he supports, like you haven't been paying attention. He took a photo with Donald Trump. I forget if it was this offseason or 2 off seasons ago, whatever.
I think he did it at one of the UFC events. Joe Burrow, Donald Trump. Yeah.
His views have been known for a while, so this isn't exactly a shock. Okay, quickly. Niners get the ball back. They are up 6. They need to ice the game. And Brock Purdy gets absolutely murdered, Vish, on 2nd down. Isaac Guerendo misses his block. Pearsall is going to be wide open in the middle of the field for a huge play. And Guerendo whiffs on the block. And I don't know how Brock didn't fumble. For a guy that dropped the ball literally earlier in the game when nobody touched him, he got absolutely hammered as hard as I've ever seen him get hit. and he did not fumble the ball, and that saved the game.
Yeah. It's a very underrated moment in this game because everything could have got, like we talked about, an excellent game played by the 49ers. Everything could go wrong and he holds on to this ball. This was just a weird drive. The first down felt all out of sorts and Purdy kind of scrambles and gets them 6-7 yards to make it okay. It didn't feel like the first down that you would want of a drive where, hey, are we losing a little bit of momentum? It's a one possession game. All of a sudden, that felt weird. The second down, like you said, it almost felt like, I thought the fact that he got you to 2nd and 4, Rob, I thought that was like, okay, let's just run it. I thought that was like a guaranteed run play and take it to 3rd down. I was surprised they threw it, but the Cowboys weren't surprised they threw it. They almost, I don't know if they were surprised that they threw it, because I almost felt like they run blitz and the run blitz turned into them throwing it, and they run blitz right into Purdy throwing it, and they hit him. And sacked him. Then third and 10, you're almost playing it safe, and the Cowboys brought pressure to get the ball out of their hands, out of Brock Purdy's hands, and Malik Hooker cracked coach's buddy, as you like calling him, from JT O'Sullivan. But like, they were out of it on 3rd and 11. 3rd and 11 was just about making them use the third or the final
100%.
Yeah, timeout and punting it. But to me, that 1st and 2nd down play call, I will say that situation was a little bit bizarre, especially if you decided to throw on 1st down. It's almost like 2nd down is a guaranteed run to me. Guaranteed run. If you're talking about situationally, we made the decision to throw it 1st down, then I'm almost thinking you made the decision to run it 2nd down. And maybe they got a look that they didn't want to run into it all, and that was part of what Brock Purdy got sacked into. But if they were expecting that level of pressure, run blitz, they should have had a pressure answer, a screen, get the ball into space, something. 2nd and 4 shouldn't have been pure drop back, quarterback taking a sack. That was horrible situational arrangement in a 1-score game.
Shades of Idiocy on Twitch says the rookie will be sweating pass rush block reps this week until he drops. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. Although if Christian McCaffrey comes back, that's an underrated thing that he does that will help Brock Purdy.
So, and Elijah Mitchell used to do it pretty well too. Yes. They miss him. And yes, he blows the pass blocking assignment, right? But I don't understand necessarily taking your rookie running back who they haven't put on the field because they know this is not something that he is fully comfortable with yet, and then saying, hey, 2nd and 4, 1 possession game, we're going to need you to pick up the linebacker coming right up to the gut to you on a blitz. Like that, I feel like the coach should know the odds of that being unlikely to work in that moment before calling that play, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, but at some point, if you're on the field, you got to be expected to do your job.
Sure, but I feel like when you're talking about that drive situationally, and you're not just talking about how are we sequencing plays together, right? You're talking about 30-24, 3 minutes. They have 3 timeouts. Essentially, what your goal is, you want to give the ball back to them. If you do, with like a minute and no timeouts. Right. You want to make it a situation where they got to go the length of the field with a minute or so time, no timeouts to score the touchdown to win the game. Well, if you made the decision to throw on 1st down, which I understand because you're not thinking time at that point because you know they're going to take a timeout, you're thinking yards. You're thinking a positive play on 1st down. They get a positive play on 1st down. Not the play they were expecting, but Purdy gets them exactly what they wanted, which was 6 yards, 7 seconds off the clock, which was more than they probably thought throwing the football, and Dallas kills their first time out. To me, 2nd and 3, almost automatically there, Rob, is a run. It's automatically a run call to me because you run it there, 2nd and 3, you play it safe. You probably, worst case, lose a yard, no gain, 3rd and 3, 4 gain right there. To me, throwing on 2nd and 3 risks taking the sack, and now 3rd and 11 you're playing for a better punt. 3rd and 3 you're playing to ice the game, and so that's the difference I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about what did he call on 1st down and what did he call on 2nd down. I'm talking pure you versus the clock. What decisions are you making from a yardage standpoint? The moment I see 2nd and 3, I don't even care. I'm running the ball and worrying about 3rd down and making sure that I have my best 3rd down play in the back of my pocket for that 3rd down. I don't necessarily look at it as we want to stay in 1st and 2nd down in that situation because you also want all 3 timeouts you used on that first possession so you can kill clock if you get the 1st down on the second set of downs. So these are little clock management things to me that obviously, I think Shanahan's a great coach. I think Shanahan's a great play caller. I don't criticize him maybe nearly as much as I would say a lot of our fan base, if I could call it that, wants me to and all of that. But this is a small example of I thought he hurt his football team here because I didn't understand the sequence of play calling when you're the play caller versus the clock in this situation. What are you prioritizing? Especially after what happened on first down didn't make sense for me.
At least Brock held on to the ball and the clock kept running, though.
Great play. Great play, right? Great play. That's one of those that's just a great play.
And this is when I was terrified, Vish, because the 49ers defense has not been able to get a stop in this situation in what
you did not think Dak Prescott was going to do it.
Dude. I absolutely did.
You did not. You did not.
Dude, just like the Rams did and just like the Cardinals did. I was terrified of the punt. Like, oh no, this is when the punt return is going to happen, right? This is when we're going to have problems.
Oh, man.
No,
it must be nice in the East Coast. You probably don't get the Cowboys on as much as I thought. I've seen this exact game played by Dak Prescott in his career maybe 50 different times. He plays this game 7 times a year where Dallas will go down real big. Dak will will him back into the game, and Dak will really start ripping it when he wills him back into the game, and then it'll become one possession, and Dak will do what he did on that last drive.
On first down on this drive, Dak's pass, I don't know what he was looking at, Vish. And Collinsworth on the broadcast was like, what is he doing? He throws the ball. The only reason it's not intercepted is because Fred Warner knocks it away from Diamador Lenore. Like, Warner goes for the pick, and it gets in the way of Lenore. Like, Lenore is catching and scoring on the, like, no doubt about it. And you can watch his reaction afterwards. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I had that.
I think there was a third guy there too, either Yadam or Brown, one of the 20 numbers, because Green gets hurt, right? Yadam's in the game at this point. They literally, yeah, I think Mina Kimes posted the dots after the game, and you can see on the dots, they're almost expecting this dagger concept on first down with this big inbreaker to CeeDee Lamb, and all three run straight to the landmark, and they're just waiting for this football. They're trying to pick this off. This is CeeDee Lamb is the outside most receiver here on the left. He's coming in. Look, they're all just going to drop right into this. They are all expecting this throw.
And it is unbelievable.
It's a walk-in pick six. It's a walk-in pick six that he throws. This is probably the worst throw by either quarterback in the game. This is Jimmy Garoppolo with the game on the line.
And I was still scared because I was like, this is, oh my God, it's exactly what happened to Kyle Hamilton, right? He drops the pick and Jameis makes him pay. Oh man, the end zone view, you could.
Yeah, the difference is Jameis has that like unshakable confidence, man, where like he'll make that mistake and then he'll come back and make the same throw again, almost blind. Maybe it's because he only got LASIK later in life, so he got used to playing quarterback a certain way. But I don't know, Dak, it does affect his confidence, and we saw that in this game. It's like a Geno thing where his confidence in his arm and his throwing and people around him, it comes and goes up and down. And I think they affected his confidence in these moments, man. I also have I think Dak Prescott's really a good quarterback. I do. I think he gets more criticism than he deserves, but he was awful in this game. And I've just seen him play this style of game too many times in his career to ever have faith that he would come back on the road against the Niners.
He did recover and throw a beautiful pass to Turpin on third down. That Turpin.
Oh, what a throw. What a throw.
Turpin missed it. And I don't know if he would have got his feet in bounds.
Dude, that was the Eli to Manningham throw.
Yeah, it was.
That was the Manningham throw. Yeah.
So Dak had the confidence at least to make that throw, but it goes incomplete. The Niners get the stop on fourth down as well. Great no call by the officials on that fourth down play because the feet get tangled. It looks like there's contact, but it really wasn't. Niners take over.
That, I think I would have broken my TV.
Oh man. Niners took over, and one last thing I'll say that I liked in this game. It's 3rd and 2. They need a first down to bleed out the clock. Guerendo breaks it to the outside, relies on his speed, and he, without a doubt, 100% slides in bounds. This time he knew what was going on. He did not know whether to slide or not last time, and that annoyed the hell out of me because that's a coaching thing on Kyle and on Brock. This time he absolutely did. There was no question about it. I like that they patched that up. Niners seal the win. They almost give it away, but they don't. They don't give it away. I don't care that it ended up being 6 points. It could have been a 2-score game because Guerendo could have easily scored on that play anyway. But Niners win. 4-4. Celebrate over the bye week.
Hell yeah. What a recap. What a way to close it out. They made it harder than they should have at the end, but A win's a win, Rob Guerrera. 4-4, baby. 500. Who doesn't love a 500 team? I know the content creators love an up and down 500 team.
You can't get over 500 until you get to 500. And now if Christian McCaffrey can come back, which Kyle Shanahan said they're going to ramp him up in practice over the bye week, and then they plan to activate him and see where he is. So we'll see. You're playing against the weakened Tampa Bay team. All I'm saying is, and Fred Warner said it after the game beautifully, everything they want is right there. It is still right there. It's week 8.
Division
Week
is
9.
so open, man.
Yep.
The Rams are the one team to watch out for because with those receivers getting healthy and Stafford being who he is, they're a little bit of a threat in the division, but Seattle stinks. Seattle stinks. And you know what? I know the Niners lost to Arizona. I know they lost to the Rams too, but shoot, they shouldn't have lost to the Rams. That version of the Rams did stink. And Arizona is just about the most goddamn average team that you can find in the NFL. They'll lose by 2 scores to every really good team. They'll compete with every average team, and they'll beat every bad one. Not that the Niners are bad.
What I'll say is this is a nice win for the Niners too, because it's another conference win. It's an NFC win. They're now 2-3 in the NFC. That's tied for the best conference record in the division, which I believe is that the second tiebreaker or the third tiebreaker?
It's the second one after division record.
Right.
Yeah.
So, after division record. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, that could be a thing, considering they're going to essentially have to split with the Cardinals and the Rams. So it's head to head, then it's division games. Okay.
I mean, they shouldn't have an issue. You've got a home game versus Seattle that you should take care of business. You have a game at Arizona. You're home away from home, even though I guess Levi's is their home away from home. But again, you should take care of business. And then the Rams at home, like, again, you lost at your home away from home in Levi's, but, like, that should be a game with all the marbles for the division. Like, you should feel very good. And you'll know exactly where it is in front of you because the Rams are going to play Seattle this week. So you're going to have a really good idea to control your own destiny. There are weaknesses with this football team. I don't know that those are going to change, but there's a lot of positives with what's ahead of them, Rob. It's time for them to lock in. It's time for them to take advantage of the opportunity in front of them.
And we'll see if they do, but let's just enjoy the time off, enjoy the victory, and just enjoy the fact that we are not living in the world where we're lamenting, oh my God, another, forget that.
It would have hurt more if it was Dallas, I will say.
Absolutely. They're the ones crying in their Kool-Aid this morning. Good. That's the way.
Did you expect anything different, though? They stink, man. They freaking stink.
When it got down to a 6-point game, I wasn't comfortable, but I'm comfortable now, and that's what matters. Vish, thank you so much for the time. I'm sorry we went over. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast wherever you get audio podcasts. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Vish has a YouTube channel as well. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe to his channel, please, and thank you. Enjoy the rest of Monday Night Football. We'll talk to you next week.